So, welcome, Kashish. It's wonderful to have you in our podcast for Prideful Narrative. It's such an honor to have you here, and I'm looking forward to be learning more about your coming out story. If you can, introduce yourself, pronouns, if you're comfortable where you're coming from, and we'll
Sure.
take it from there.
So first of all, thank you so much, Mo, for organizing this and having me. So my name is Kashish. It's been 3 years. I'm in Canada. I came here in 2021. My pronouns are he, him. And when I came here, it was entirely a different world altogether. I'm born and raised in India, Punjab. I'm North Indian. And it was entirely a new, different world when I came here. I would say it was a 360-degree turn from what I was back in India and what I am today. Would definitely talk more about it going forward. So far I'm loving it. The people here are very nice. And the environment is conducive enough that made me embrace my own self and just allowing me to be the way I am.
It's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. We'll soon discuss how you embrace your true authentic self. But first, if you can share with us how how is the perception of homosexuality back in Punjab, India, and how did you see the difference here in Canada?
Sure. Thanks for that question. I think India is progressing at a fast pace. Even Punjab is progressing these days really well, and people are getting more awareness and education about this subject of LGBTQ plus. Initially, back in time, I think the lack of awareness and education kind of brought that phobia in their mind, which they are eliminating as they are getting more educated on the subject. I think most of the people there are closeted and discreet just because of the fact that they do not want to be judged. Because back in Punjab, everybody has a stereotype that how gays behave and how people from our community are in a certain way, right? And with this podcast, I would like to break those stereotypes. I think everybody has their own way of expressing themselves. It's not about being straight or being gay or being any other gender they identify with. And I think when people will start to accept this fact that the people belonging to this community are not in a certain way. Like most of the people back in India used to think this way, that if a person is a gay, he needs to be feminine. He needs to cross dress. He wants to probably dress like a girl and behave like a girl, right? But it's not the case. I have had a lot of friends who are from different communities and different backgrounds. They want to dress in a different way. So it's all about the personal choice. It doesn't have to do anything with who you are oriented towards. So I think the basic, once this understanding will come into picture, they will feel more comfortable with the idea of acceptance and understanding. I would say understanding rather than acceptance here, that what LGBTQ2 plus community is.
This is wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. And as you mentioned, we're speaking from our own personal experience because there's a lot of diversity within the LGBT community. So myself, yourself, we cannot be talking on behalf of everyone in the community. There's a lot of diversity, as you mentioned. And you also discussed some stereotypes about gays are looking feminine, they dress like women, but as we know, it's not always the case. Some people from the community, they will be very straight looking, very manly looking, but still they are part of the community.
100%.
So
Yeah, and I would like to mention one point here. That's okay if somebody wants to dress like a girl. That's okay if somebody wants to behave feminine, because this is how they want to be and they feel comfortable in. Everybody has the right to exercise what they are feeling within. If you feel comfortable behaving a certain way, expressing in a certain way, you're more than welcome to do so. There is no there should not be any restriction on how one wants to behave, and basically we should not box someone that if this person is straight, he has to be like this, or she has to be like this, and if this person belongs to LGBT, they have to be like this. We all are humans first, right? And we have all the right to just be the way we are. So yeah.
As you mentioned, like it's very important to have a judgment-free space to allow people to express themselves freely without any shame or guilt. Let them be, let them embrace their true authentic self. So speaking about that, what changed for you when you fully embraced your true authentic self? Was it a liberating feeling? Do you feel like happier? Do you still have some challenges? Because we know like coming out is not one-time thing. You keep coming out to people you meet at your new place, when you travel, meeting new friends. So how was this experience for you?
Sure. Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, so the feeling is liberating, I would say, because when I was closeted, the word itself says closeted, like in a cage, right? I used to feel pretentious whenever I'm meeting someone because back of my mind, there was a thought that I am being judged for who I am. I felt really boxed and caged back there. I don't know if I would have come at that point in time. Maybe everybody would have accepted it with wide arms open. I never had the courage when I was back in India, just because my mindset was people will not accept me. Probably it's very different. It would have been different if I would have, but I never gave myself a chance, and I was pretentious whole my life. But when I came out of that closet, I met people who understood me well and gave me the courage to come out of that closet. Now I feel I can just be me without the fear of being judged. The fear went away, and that kind of is allowing me to live life full-fledgedly. I would say I can just be myself, do whatever I like, can be my 100%, because there is nothing that is stopping me in my thought process of just exercising my own true self. And I think that is liberating in itself. When you have that thought or a restriction in your head that you are being judged or what people will say about you, that kind of holds you from being your true authentic self. And that is what has changed for me now versus what I was. And that kind of shows up in anything and everything I do. For example, people had this stereotype like pink is associated with girls, right? This certain activity, this certain type of dance is associated to be feminine, right? So if somebody is feeling in his or her head to have that kind of a dance as his or her hobby, or that kind of a color they want to wear, they always are hesitant to do that just because what society would think about it, right? And I think when you are 100% your authentic self and trying to do things what you like without the fear of being judged, that's liberation. And that has changed over time for me. Now I feel I can pursue anything I like because people are supportive, people are understanding, and the society is evolving in a certain way.
So I've known you for a while, and I can see the transformation as you embrace your true authentic self. And the way you're expressing yourself now, like I see you post a lot on social media, like you're doing the Acrobat. So if you can tell us more how this helped you in your healing journey and self-expression.
Sure. So before answering that question, I would like to, for whosoever is listening, I would like to kind of tell my coming out story, how I got the courage and how I explained it to my parents. Probably if someone is hearing that and is closeted and feeling the same way I used to feel, this may help him or her to kind of come out and educate the people around. So one fine day, my mom called me, and of course, because now it was the age to get married, right? And everybody who has those questions, which is pretty genuine. And I was dodging this question from a while now, and One fine day she calls me and we were on a video chat, and I asked these two questions to my mom. I asked that, Mom, I want to tell you something today. She asked me what? I asked her two questions. One was, Mom, if I tell you to change your eye color from black to blue, would you be able to do that naturally? She said no. The second question which I asked was, if I asked you to increase your height from 5 feet to 6 feet, probably, would you be able to do that? She said no. I was like, now what I'm going to tell you is not in my control. This is how we are, because a lot of people have this conception that it is by choice. I want to clarify this misconception that it is never by choice. It is who we are from birth itself. So that's why those two questions came handy, because I wanted to explain them this concept that it is who I am from birth itself. And it's not the country, it's not the people that changed me. It's actually the environment that gave me the courage to come out now, because I do not have anybody judging me. And that's how, again, the point of liberation and just being myself comes into picture, right? So this is how I came out. And then my mom asked me answering the questions, and then I told her that I'm into guys, and this is the reality. We have to accept it the easy way, the hard way. I do not want to spoil any girl's life, because the fact that I want to be in a certain way in front of the society around. For me, just taking a stand for your own self and be who you are, and not doing things just for pleasing society, is the path that I am on. And I think that saved some girls' life too, because just getting into that relationship or a situationship or that marriage commitment with somebody who you really do not feel attracted to sexually, I think that's not fair for her as well, right? So yeah, I just wanted to give this background first, and now what was your question again?
No, of course. Thank you for sharing. And these two questions are like profound, because you are again mentioning that that's how I was born, and it's not a choice.
Yeah.
In fact, this reminds me of a quote that I really love. It says, "Being homosexual is not a choice, but being homophobic is a choice. You can choose to be homophobic, or you can choose, as you say, to be understood." So you shared with me last time how your mom told you about being understood. So would you love to share that with us?
Sure, I would. So yeah, I mean, I came out, and then my mom asked me a lot of questions. She was open to the idea of understanding and educating herself. I would say I feel fortunate to have parents and my sibling, because all of them are very understanding in a way that they are open to different ideas of who you are. In my head, I was thinking that why didn't I come out early? These people are so supportive, and that makes me so glad, knowing that I got such a good family. I want to mention that over here as well. And then my mom asked me a lot of questions, and I asked her that you can ask me any number of questions that you want to, because I took 29 years of my life to know myself and to embrace my true self. I do not expect you and my dad to just accept me in a jiffy, right? They took their sweet time. They asked me a lot of questions. I tried educating them every now and then. It was a process in itself, I would say 1 to 2 months. And then when I got back to India, I sat in person with them to explain them what it actually is. Now they understand the concept fully, and that helped me even being my own true self more, and gave me the courage to come out on social media as well. And the journey has been amazing. I would say beautiful journey. And now, because my own people, my inner core circle, my mom, my dad, my sibling understood me well, they supported me well, and this is this actually helped expediting the process of making other people understand. So now, then I talk to my cousins, my relatives, and I would say I have been the lucky one wherein I did not get a pushback from anyone. Everybody understood me well when I explained the concept well. Until and unless you do not explain them well, of course, how would they understand? So I think education and awareness of who we are is very important so that people do not have misconceptions and the wrong idea of LGBTQ2 plus. Once people get to know how we feel, they understand you well, and this is how understanding versus acceptance came into picture. One fine day, again, I was talking to my mom and I was like, thank you for accepting me. And my mom said, who are we to accept you? It should always be understanding rather than acceptance. And my cousin, who lives in here in Canada too, she lives in Brampton, she, when I told her, she came up with the same thought. And I think it makes more sense to me. Acceptance should never be the word, because nobody has right to accept or reject anyone in this world. It's we two are two different humans. We come with two different thought processes, and what we need is to understand each other. So I would say, whosoever is watching, we should address this agenda at a national level rather than saying accepting LGBTQ2 plus. It should be understanding them, providing education to the people who do not understand them, providing awareness, and that's how they would understand the concept. They would understand us, and eventually we would accept each other well, not one-sided, but two ways, right? So I would say understanding is the main word here, which we need to catch. So yeah.
No, thank you for sharing. I remember the first time you shared with me, like, you want to be understood, not merely accepted. It was like very profound, very deep, and you're very blessed to have like a loving family to support you unconditionally. And of course, it has a lot of therapeutic impact. It's very healing and very liberating. And once you get the love and the support from your core family, you no longer care how others perceive you if people judge you, because you are protected by the love of those surrounding you. And this also helps you in loving and understanding yourself more and more. So that's very beautiful. Thank you for sharing. I wanted to ask you, like, you were very fortunate and lucky to have the love and acceptance of your family. But what would you say to those who were not very fortunate, who perhaps got rejected, they had to be kicked out of their home? Because that's the reality, it happens way too often. So what would be your message to their parents or people who are not accepting them or understanding them, as you mentioned?
That happens quite often. I do have people in my own circle. For them, the journey has not been that easy, the way it has been for me. And I would say, hang in there, take your own time. I believe in life, nothing happens before or after time. It's always the right moment with the right people. So that's okay if somebody's not understanding you for now. Give them their own time, because they are coming from a different mentality altogether, right? It's not easy to understand this concept because they are not in the same shoe you are in, right? I would never recommend or suggest anyone to develop grudges with their parents or their family if their family is not accepting or understanding them, right? I would say they should also understand the idea that their family have never thought about this ever, and they are very new to this concept. So probably time would heal. You specified, you said it in that this is who you are, right? But I would say you resonate the kind of vibe. So it's always a two-way vibe, meaning if you talk to someone politely, mostly, I would say more oftenly, you would get a good response from the other person too. it's okay if the other person did not understand you. It doesn't mean you started retaliating. Of course, this way they would never understand. Try to find out the right moments, probably weekly, monthly, yearly, and to show them that keep on mentioning and bringing in those events. If you see something happening on social media, probably forwarding them those reels, forwarding them those news, wherein it has been shown that LGBTQ2 plus are being widely understood. This would help educating them more. And I think giving the examples of the people who are socially out and are very famous in the society would also help understanding them better, that this is not something which only their son or their daughter is going through. This is very normal, and a lot of people are in the same shoes. So that normalizes the trend, and that normalizes the concept wherein they are thinking that probably their child is abnormal versus other people in the society. So when they will get to know that there are a lot of people under the same umbrella, that concept of belonging to that community would normalize in their heads. And then they will be more open to understanding you better. So to answer your question, educating them and giving them their own sweet time to explore this journey and travel through this journey would help them getting accepted, getting understood, one day or the other.
That's beautiful. Like, as you mentioned, sometimes it just requires some time for them to grasp this idea, educate themselves, and at the same time, we'll be like sharing more awareness, having more visibility, as you mentioned, sharing the life story of someone who is out and famous, to realize that no, my child is not the only person, but they belong to this group, and there's nothing wrong with them. So, well said. And I also want to add, like, coming out is not always for everyone. You need like to assess the timing. Am I like stable financially? Am I safe? Am I secure? Am I still reliant on my family to live, to survive, to pay uh, my stuff? So that's why you need to assess if you're in a good place in life.
Right.
Perhaps you can come out, but there's no obligation or like if you're not ready, it's totally fine. Take your time. It takes a long time. In your case, it took 29 years. In my situation, it also took like more than 20 years. So it takes time. No rush in these situations.
No rush, and that's okay if you don't want to come out. It's just that do not get into that relationship to be with someone just for the society. That's wrong, I would say. But if you do not want to come out and just want to live by yourself, that's okay. I'm against the idea of cheating someone just for the society, what people say.
Yes.
But if you are well within yourself and don't want to tell anyone, that's fine too.
Because you can perhaps know that this is happening. I encountered a lot of people who are married, who have kids, and unfortunately they are on these dating apps. They meet other men, and to me it's very sad that they have to hide this part of their major sexual orientation is a major part of your identity, your intersectional identity. So to as you mentioned, if you really respect the woman, you would not like just marry her and use her to hide and cover yourself. This is not morally right. And I understand that you'd be so scared from the judgment of society and what will people talk. But uh, like times are changing, there's more awareness. I love that even on Netflix, like whatever you watch, sometimes they mention like a member of the community, a gay character. So there's like more visibility, more. I can see it even within like my family and my culture in the Middle East. There's slightly more understanding of the community. So
I would agree. And for the people, as you mentioned, that who got into these engagements of getting married and having children, that's okay too. Sometimes you do not have the courage, or probably not the right timing, or whatever the situation is. They were unable to come out, and they probably thought in their head it's just a phase, it will pass, and everything would be all right, and it didn't happen. I feel empathetic for them as well. Having said that, I would still say that being true to yourself and to the one you are getting into that engagement with is a good idea and should be considered. If that person is okay, so there are a lot of bisexual people, right? Maybe gays who wants to just stay with someone of opposite gender just for the sake of society. The concern would be until and unless that other person is not aware of your sexuality. If the girl is okay to have you in her life, and so it happens for the lesbians as well. If the guy is okay to have you in their life, and widely understanding your sexuality, that's fine. That's your personal engagement and understanding. But just for the sake of society and from the fear of being judged, that should not be done.
As you mentioned, like being in ethical non-monogamy or being in open relationship requires two consenting adults to have a shared agreement, and that's different than cheating, you know. So if the other person is aware and you are both on the same page, there's no judgment, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, on the same lines again, like you should be very transparent with the one you are living. If you are transparent what you think and what your thought process is, and the other person is accepting and understanding that concept, go ahead with that.
And I remember, like in my journey, I'm very, very grateful to therapy, and I've done a lot of counseling. And I remember my therapist said, like, when you're trying to hide part of your identity, it's like an open tab on your laptop. It's running, it's consuming energy, and that's why during the day you'll feel you're always tired, there's fatigue, because it takes a lot of energy to keep hiding yourself, wearing this mask and living a double life. So no wonder why many people always feel like sluggish and tired and exhausted, because it's like an open tab that you need to close it to save energy. Otherwise, it's gonna keep taking more and more of your energy.
Right. And to that point, when my journey of coming out came into picture, even before that, when I came to Canada, I was going through really bad mental health condition. One of the main reasons probably was just being closeted, and my cousin lives in US. He's a psychiatrist, so I had, like, as you mentioned, therapy, and talking it out is very important. And he lives there, and he was talking to me one day, and this was the question he brought up, and asked me, that I want to ask this personal question to you: what is your sexual orientation? And that was the point when I just could not hold it, because he was asking me up front, and I was going through panic mode, or I would say depressing condition at that point in time. So I just took it out of my system. And once I did that, I felt relieved. I felt at ease. So as you mentioned, that it's just grabbing your energy at some point, that is very true, because you are already occupied with a lot of things going on in your life, and this becomes an additional baggage. So if you clear it out and just be yourself, I think that will help you function more appropriately and at an optimum level versus the way you function with that baggage.
I love how you mentioned package, because you are having this heavy package on your bag and it slows you down. You cannot move as fast as if you're like, you don't have this on your, and how many people they say they have pain in their shoulder, pain in their neck, because there's this heavy weight that they are carrying over and over for many years. And perhaps you also know that a lot of members of the community have anxiety, because of course they have a lot of uncertainties. What if someone finds out? What will my family do? How will this affect my work? Will I be homeless? Will people stop loving me? Will people stop talking to me? So of course, an anxiety, I had it. It's horrible. It affects every aspect of your life. So people don't know how, like, just loving and accepting and understanding someone, it can help so significantly in their mental health journey.
Right. And even when we are feeling anxious or depressed, if somebody near and dear to us comes and hugs us, right, that feeling of being secured releases certain kinds of hormones in our brain, that we feel loved and we feel that we are not alone. I think that is the same thing when you mentioned that if somebody understands us well, and we are being loved, or we feel comfortable, I think that kind of gives and relieves us from the mental baggage or anxiety that we have been feeling. And yeah, being an advocate of mental health, I would say this helped me immensely when I got rid of this baggage myself. And during the journey itself, I would also like to mention that yoga, getting to know myself better. I follow Sadhguru. I'm a big fan of his teachings, and with his coming into my life and me learning yoga and going on that path of understanding my own self, made me in a better condition, I would say. And that also contributed to get rid of all those mental obsessions and compulsions I used to feel. I still feel those. I would say I'm not 100% free of those. There have been times when I still feel worried. I still feel panic. There is anxiety that's hitting me. But this is a way better than it was before. I would say 3 years, 4 years down the line, when I was not doing yoga. So yoga has a healing capability, and everyone should incorporate that in their day-to-day lives to get better at who they are.
Speaking of yoga, that you mentioned it's helping in your healing journey. And back to the question that you forgot to tackle, how did the Acrobat and if you can tell us more about it,
Sure.
because I know it's been very helpful in your journey of self-expression.
Right. So I have always been into something that is physically challenging and involves a lot of physical exercise. As I did mention, yoga was one of the things that I love to do, and is one of the things that I love to do and will be always. And there was one friend of mine whom I met, and he's a famous acrobat. And one day he asked me, probably I should give it a try. And I have been thinking of it since from the time I was in India, but I never gave myself a chance to give it a shot. I'm not that big on gymming, creating big muscles. I'm more of a mobility guy. I want to play with my flexibility. And that's how I think acrobatics came into picture for me. And one day I tried this class, and once I tried it, I felt so relieved, and I felt that I did something for myself that I have been thinking of and have been delaying that. Now I have the resources, I have the people in my life who can teach me well. And I gave it a shot, and after that class, I felt that bug has bitten me so hard that I can't get rid of it. And every week I wanted to do that, because that acted as a stress buster for me, like yoga did, right? So I incorporated that. And as for some people, when they lift the weights, right, they build those muscles, they feel the dopamine rush, they feel that they are happy. So acrobatics acted the same way for me. I started doing that, and I felt relieved. I felt that I'm doing something that I always wanted to do. With that, I started planning my performances that I wanted to do in 2024, and that was a milestone in itself that I'm working towards. So when you have set goals and milestones in your life, that always tries to put your attention one pointed towards that, and that also helps you just exploring your own self. So everything boils down and circles down to exploring your own true self, whether it's your sexual orientation, whether it's exercising your own interests, and how it ties to my sexuality. I would say, because now I do not have that baggage, I do not have that tab open in my head, I have more bandwidth to explore my interests. And this is how acrobatics or yoga came into picture, because now I have that energy saved to do what I really like to do. And that eventually helps me improve my mental health again. So this is a journey of self-exploration. Even my Instagram account says that, just on a journey to explore my true self. And like the rainbow, we as the community members know the relevance of rainbow, that everybody coming from different backgrounds with different colors bringing on the same table, and rainbow kind of accepts and embraces every color and make it one. So comes the symbol of LGBTQ2 plus communities. So a lot of things mingling into each other, whether those things mingle well if you do not have that baggage. Now, if we're talking about acrobatics and yoga, those things mingled well with my persona. I got to know who I am because I got off that baggage. So I would say, yeah, this is how they came into picture, and I am planning to keep them as a daily routine, or probably twice, thrice a week, so that I could be on that journey and do something really big one day.
No, I love watching your videos, and you improved a lot over time, like with acrobatic. And as you mentioned, you no longer have the like this heaviness. So now you have more energy to practice yoga, to practice acrobatics. So, and you mentioned before that sometimes when someone gives you a hug, gives you this feeling of safety, or when this friend told you, like, perhaps you can try this acrobatics. Can you tell us about your support system or your chosen family that helped you alongside this healing journey?
Right. Yeah. So I would like to circle back to the same point I did mention before, wherein I mentioned that when people get the opportunity to normalize this idea that we are not different, but we are the same, you feel more comfortable sinking in the idea of who you are. So when I came to Canada, I met really nice people who actually explained me well, told me about their coming out stories, and I felt one of them. I felt I belonged here, right? And those people became my support system, right? I just spoke my heart out to them, and that's why I love Canada, because those were the people who I found here in Toronto, and that gave me my own personal space to grow and flourish. So talking about the support system, again, I would say I have been fortunate enough to have such friends in my life and to have a family who understood me really well. And my path has been easier compared to probably other people that I met, who told the struggles that they faced during their life. But I would say hang in there again. If your family is not supporting you, probably you would find your friends, you would meet people in your life that you can confide into, that you could discuss these things into, because I think discussing and vocalizing your thoughts really help. That's what therapy does. We pay for therapy, we go to a therapist and we talk it out. So when you take it out of your system, even with the closest of your friends, they would understand. Of course, the society is progressing now. People are on that level wherein they are open to this idea. So talk it out through friends. Do not scare. What will happen? The friends would also not support you. That's okay. This way you will come to know who your real friends versus fake friends are, right?
True.
So have this dialogue with them, right? And once you take it out of your system, then you would have people whom you can just be yourself with, right? Once you find that support system, the journey becomes easier, I would say.
I love so much what you mentioned about vocalizing these thoughts, because it reminds me when I went to my therapist and we're doing like talk therapy, and she mentioned like everything you shared here, when you leave and close the doors, they stay here. They will not follow you to your home. So, and this thought is like very powerful because you're letting it out of your system, as you mentioned. These negative affirmations that you tell yourself, this criticism, this self-hatred, they no longer are part of your subconscious because you're replacing them with more positive affirmation, more self-love. So, well said.
Yeah. And there are a lot of resources online these days. There are these groups, right? Mental health groups that you can reach out to talk it out, right? They are providing free services. Nowadays, every country has these LGBTQ2 plus groups. You can connect with their members if you are not finding the friends who can be your support system, and you are very hesitant to just speak it out in front of the friends that have been with you. No, because you do not know how they would react. You can reach out to the people of the community, these groups that will help you understand and provide you that support that you have been seeking. Plus, now there have been a lot of meetup events and groups, even on the dating apps, when you swipe right or swipe left, or if you meet somebody on the dating apps, you tend to find someone who understands you well, because he's in the same or she's in the same shoe that you have been, and eventually you be friends with him. Again, try to vocalize, try to dialogue, and that will eventually help settling down those thoughts and getting rid of that baggage which you have been feeling.
And you also mentioned the word belonging, that I really love, because it's about welcoming someone, let them in without any judgment, and make them part of a community, and it's very transformational. So it's always good to be part of something without judgment. It helps a lot.
Right. Yeah. Because it helped me. I believe these resources, these friends, the family understanding me, helped me a lot in my journey. And I would say this probably would be the resources that other people can leverage, and come out to the closest of them first. Probably that will help them go through the journey smoothly, rather than it being a very crooked.
Because as you mentioned, when you belong to something, you gain these bonds of trust. They shared with you their coming out story, then you also poured your heart, you trusted them, you were vulnerable, and you also shared, so they inspired you. And that's actually what we aim with these discussions and podcasts, to perhaps we can inspire others that they are not alone. They belong in this community. They are vibrant. They are beautiful. They can be very successful. And if you can just briefly mention, like, you are a very successful person. You're doing great in your career. You're still having the energy to do yoga, acrobatic, to socialize. So it's a symbol that wherever you're coming from, whatever happens to you in your life, your childhood, you can be successful. So if you can share a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So, I would say there always have been times in my life when I felt low. Everybody does that, right? It's always a roller coaster, right? If today I'm at a certain place, I'm happy, right? There were times when I was feeling lonely. I was not feeling like that. So that's okay. Just acknowledging your own self and what you are feeling is the first step towards healing, right? And as I did mention, that I always talk it out, whether to parents, either to friends, or to my sibling. And when I talked it out, that made my journey easier. Sorry, I kind of lost the question.
How, despite all the hurdles, you can still be successful, despite all the doubts that you have, like you made it.
Yeah. So when you try to believe in yourself, again, boiling or circling back to the same point, knowing your true self, you know what you are working towards, right? Today may be the hard day. Today may not be the good day, but tomorrow will be. Just believing that the day will come, right? And we have to hang in there is the first step towards success. Now, once you start exploring your own self and be your authentic self, you develop that clarity in mind, right? And once you develop that clarity, you walk down that path to achieve the milestones and goals that I did mention for acrobatics or dancing or yoga. I do have certain things in my mind that I'm working towards, right? So when, to your point, how one can be successful is by having that clarity in mind, by getting things sorted and having those milestones and goals that they want to do. But believe you me, while you're on that journey, you will feel a lot of hurdles. You will feel, there would be days when you would feel like quitting, I can't do it anymore. And there have been the moments in my life too when I felt that. I would just suggest just hanging on to something at that point in time. For me, it was Sadhguru. For me, it was my parents. For me, it was my sibling and the higher powers that I believe in. That today may not be the good day, tomorrow may also not be the good day, but one day it will get better. This too shall pass, right? So just holding on and not leaving that path that you are on of self-exploration and achieving your goals one day would eventually make you successful. So an advice that just hang in there. There could be hard days or good days, but keep going.
I love what you said. This too shall pass. No matter what you're feeling, no matter what the doubts that you're having, even if you're feeling the lowest of the lows, keep pushing. Find your support system. For you, your parents, or even you mentioned yoga. So find the ways to help you cope with the stress, and one day it will be your day.
Yeah.
So I want you to, if you can go back in time to the past and send one message to your younger self, the one that was confused, that was scared, that's not understanding what's happening, what would you say to your younger self?
Okay, that's a good question. If I imagine that time and going back into that time and saying something to my younger self, I would say, do not panic. Things will be okay. You're not alone. We all are in this together. And just believe, have faith in the higher power. The universe is working in your favor. You are unable to see the bigger picture. Today, this piece of the puzzle may not be the right piece for you, but it is making a lot more sense in the bigger jigsaw puzzle which universe is aligning for you. So just have faith. Faith worked really well for me, right? I have been holding to the higher power. I don't know how many people know this or not. I am a big bhagat of Sai Baba. He has been my guru, who is not in the physical body right now, but it's his presence is well widely known all over the world, or mostly in India, Shirdi, right? I have been having that faith and holding on that whatever he's doing right for me. And now if I look back, those puzzles make a lot of sense. Those pieces of the puzzles which I thought may not make any sense are making a lot of sense. So to my younger self, do not panic. Everything is working in your favor. Just believe and have faith, which we tend to lose when we are in that point in time.
I really love that. You mentioned that the universe is not working against you, it's actually working for you. So trust that process. When you look back, you will see why things happened the way they did and how they were stepping stones to where you are now in life.
Right. And as I did mention that you did mention that few people, I'm just wanted to mention this point now so that I do not forget about the resources, and for the people who are finding it hard to have this conversation with the family. I mentioned that you can show them the videos. Probably this is the podcast that they can show to their family, and their family would get to know more about the community. If we could be of any help to them and their family, I would say we did wonders. This podcast came into some worthiness. It was worthy to have this conversation. If we could even help or affect 1 to 2 lives and make their lives smoother, and help their parents understand our perspectives, we are on the path to success, I would say.
Well said. And I really love that I'm having an Indian perspective, because I know in India there's hijra, which is like a third gender that is widely accepted. Back in the days, they were used to be giving blessings in weddings. And I know that colonization has changed the way people perceive it, but these discussions hopefully will make people understand us again, same they used to before colonization affected their perceptions.
Right. Now, again, they are being identified as the third gender, transgender. And of course, as the universe has made different forms of humans, we all belong to that same humanity group, but have different preferences and different looks. Even if we are a man, we look way different from each other, right? Similarly, we do have the third gender, and they are of utmost importance to us and our existence today. And as you rightly mentioned, their blessings used to be really important for anything and everything we are going to do in our lives. And they progressed so well today that they are doing great things for the community, for the society, and that again stereotype or idea of them being different has changed over time with the colonization, with the people getting aware of who they really are. So educating and knowing the facts would help, and they have helped them as well to spread awareness of who they are and how they want to live their own lives, is making the society a great place to live in.
Love it, love it. So finally, I want to give you this. If you can hold it, and if there's one wish without any hesitation that you would wish for, what is it and why?
Okay, that's a tricky one.
Can be about anything.
Okay. Right. So my one wish would be, I want this world to be a better place to live in, wherein everybody would be able to exercise, feel, express, do whatever they want and they have been wanting to do without the fear of being judged. This will make this world a really better place to live in, which would eliminate all the challenges from all perspectives that people have been going through. Just understanding and embracing each other the way they are could be the biggest blessing. And I really want this blessing to dawn upon this world so that this world will become a beautiful place to live in.
That's so beautiful, and I hope your wish gets manifested in this physical world as soon as possible, because that's what we really need as humanity, to live in peace and harmony. And once again, I want to really thank you so much, Kashish, for everything you shared. That was very inspirational, and I'm sure it's gonna touch people's heart and change many lives for the best. So thank you once again, and namaste.
Namaste. 100%. I would be really glad if it could touch people's lives and make a difference for others. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to come and speak about it. All the thanks to you for organizing this. Yeah.
It's my
Thank you
absolute
so much.
pleasure. Thank you,
Thank you.
Kashish.
Thank you.